Welcome back to the sanctuary of the archive. Tonight we are retrieving a document that has been sealed away for centuries. We are turning our gaze toward a location that does not exist on any map of the waking world. A place whispered about in the ancient texts as the Silver Dunes. We are traveling to the hidden workshop of a master alchemist. A recluse who has spent a lifetime mastering the physics of rest. He is not a chemist who labors to turn lead into gold. He is known in the lore as an architect of absolute silence. He takes the heavy and leaden weight of human anxiety, and he distills it drop by drop into the golden light of peace. Tonight you are not standing outside the gates as a stranger. You are his chosen apprentice invited into the inner sanctum. You are here to witness the great work of the alchemist, to learn the secret recipe of silence, and to let the noise of your life finally fade into the background. To reach this place, we do not need to travel across the earth. We do not need to traverse the weary miles of the physical world. We only need to unravel the fabric of the room you are in right now. I want you to turn your attention to the solid walls that surround you. In your daily life, these walls are hard and unyielding barriers. They define the limits of your space and the limits of your freedom. But here in the story, the laws of matter are fluid. I want you to imagine that the mortar holding the room together is softening. The molecules are loosening their tight grip on one another. The structural integrity of the room is beginning to fade like a dream. The sharp corners of the ceiling are losing their definition, blurring into a soft and golden mist that swirls around you. This mist carries the scent of ozone and ancient cedar burning in a distant hearth. The walls are becoming transparent and dissolving like sugar in warm water. They are drifting away into the cool currents of the night air, leaving you entirely exposed to the canopy of stars above. Yet you remain completely and absolutely safe in this exposure. As the last wisp of your room fades into the ether, you find that the ground beneath you has transformed beneath your weight. You are no longer lying on a mattress or a chair. You are resting on the crest of a gentle dune, in the center of the vast and silent silver ocean. This is not a desert of common sand and grit. According to the geological records of the archive, this valley was formed millions of years ago by a massive starfall. The heavens rained down upon this valley in a torrent of fire, seeding the earth with heavy and precious metals from the cosmos. The ground beneath you is composed of stardust silt, tiny and perfectly round spheres of polished silver and platinum, iridium and gold weathered by the winds of deep time. Because of its metallic nature, the ground behaves like a heavy fluid. It shifts to accommodate the specific curve of your body. rising up to support the arch of your spine with perfect precision. There is a specific property to this silt that pilgrims have sought for ages. Because it is metal, it possesses a remarkably high thermal mass. The desert has spent the last 14 hours drinking in the sunlight, absorbing the fierce energy of the day deep into the core of the dunes. Now, in the cool vacuum of the night air, the ground acts as a massive planetary battery, slowly releasing that stored warmth back into the atmosphere around you. You can feel this radiant heat seeping through your clothes. It starts at your heels as a heavy and grounding warmth. It travels slowly up the length of your heavy legs. It softens the tight muscles of your lower back and hips, untying the knots of tension you have carried all day long. You are lying on a living heating pad created by the stars, held in the warm and magnetic embrace of the earth itself. Now I want you to lift your gaze to the vast horizon. The sky here is not black or empty like the city sky. It is a deep and polished indigo like a smooth river stone. Spiraling across this dark expanse is the great river of stars, a vivid arm of the Milky Way galaxy visible only from this valley. You can see the clouds of nebula dust glowing purple and gold. You can see the clusters of newborn stars burning with blue fire. The starlight is so intense it casts long and soft shadows, painting the silver desert in a monochrome of light and dark. When you stand in the crowded city, you feel large and heavy. Your problems feel like mountains that must be climbed every day. But here, under the silent spiral of a billion burning stars, you are reminded of the ancient lesson of scale. You are small. And in this place, being small is a profound form of relief. When you are small, you do not have to carry the world. You do not have to hold the sky up with your shoulders. The universe is doing all of the heavy lifting for you. You are simply a passenger on a beautiful and silent planet, drifting through a vast sea of ancient light. You are free to let go and simply drift. You are exactly where you are meant to be tonight. You stand up slowly and brush the warm silver dust from your clothes. You begin to walk down the gentle slope toward the shoreline of the dunes. Waiting for you at the base of the valley is the Sand-Skiff. This vessel is a relic from the forgotten age of navigators. It is a long and sleek boat carved from the heart of the iron oak tree, a wood so dense and heavy that it would sink immediately in water. But here in the desert it slides effortlessly over the metallic silt. The hull is dark and polished by centuries of friction until it shines like obsidian. You can see the grain of the wood twisting like frozen smoke. Run your hand along the smooth curve of the railing. It vibrates slightly under your touch, humming with a low resonance. It holds the warmth of the afternoon sun deep within its fibers. Towering above the hull is a single tapered mast. Hanging from it is the signature technology of this ancient place. The copper sail is a sheet of hammered metal thin as parchment. It is designed to catch not just the wind but the magnetic currents of the earth. It glows with a dull and reddish warmth in the starlight. It does not flap or flutter like a canvas sail would. It ripples gently like a disturbed pool of water, capturing the silent energy of the spice wind that flows through the valley. You step over the railing and lower yourself into the hull. The interior is designed for absolute comfort and protection. It is lined with deep cushions covered in indigo velvet. They are soft and inviting, allowing you to sink deeply into them. There is a heavy fur throw folded at the foot of the resting space. You pull it over your legs to protect against the cool night air. You are swaddled and safe within the belly of the boat. There is no steering wheel for you to man. There are no ropes for you to pull or knots to tie. The skiff knows the way to the Alchemist by instinct. It is drawn to the source of the silence like a compass needle seeking north. The copper sail catches the invisible current of the wind. The boat lurches forward without a jerk or a bump. It begins a gentle and fluid slide across the silver dunes. As the iron oak hull slices through the stardust silt, it creates a vibration. The lore calls this phenomenon the singing sands. Because the grains of sand are perfectly round, they vibrate in harmony. This creates a continuous low-frequency drone that resonates through the hull. It travels up through the cushions and enters your spine. It loosens the tight muscles between your shoulder blades. It vibrates the lingering tension out of your jaw and neck. It is a sonic massage for the entire nervous system. As you glide deeper into the desert, the landscape begins to change. To your left, you pass the formation known as the Glass Gardens. These are towers of fulgurite rising from the earth, created when ancient lightning struck the sand and melted it instantly. They rise like twisted spires of natural translucent glass. The starlight passes through them and scatters into tiny rainbows, dancing across the dark hull of your boat like ghosts. They stand as silent monuments to the power of the storm that has passed, reminding you that even the wildest energy eventually turns into stone. To your right, you pass the deep troughs known as the shadow valleys. These are the spaces between the dunes where the starlight cannot reach. They are pools of absolute and restful darkness. They remind you of the state of deep sleep. The kind of sleep where the self disappears completely. Where you sink below the surface of your own identity and float in the void of pure restoration. You are moving through a waking dreamscape. A place where friction and effort do not exist. There is only the glide and the drift. The slow and inevitable movement toward the center of the quiet. You are simply a passenger on this journey. And for tonight that is enough. The momentum of the iron oak skiff begins to fade. You are approaching the massive geological formation known as the Gates of Silence. These are two colossal dunes that rise 300 feet into the air. Over thousands of years their cores have calcified into solid sandstone. They stand as unmoving sentinels guarding the entrance to the inner sanctuary. According to the geological maps in the archive, these gates were once the entrance to a vast underground ocean. The ocean dried up eons ago, leaving behind only this single hidden valley. As the boat glides between the towering walls, the physics of the air change. The dry and crisp scent of the open desert is left behind, replaced by the heavy and humid fragrance of night-blooming jasmine. The temperature drops significantly as you enter the shadow of the ancients. You drift into the center of the hidden oasis. The water lies before you like a sheet of polished obsidian. This is not ordinary surface water fed by rain. The lore tells us that this pool is fed by the deep aquifer, a subterranean river that flows through veins of charcoal and silver deep within the crust. Because of this natural filtration process, the water is absolutely pure. It absorbs all light rather than scattering it back to the eye. This creates a perfect black mirror that reflects the galaxy above. Looking down over the railing of the skiff creates a sensation of vertigo. It appears that you are floating not on water but in deep space, suspended weightlessly between the stars above and the stars below. The water teaches the ancient lesson of reflection. Only when the surface is perfectly still can it hold the weight of the heavens. The skiff comes to a gentle rest against the mossy bank. Resting on the shore is the guardian of this pool. A massive desert tortoise with a shell the size of a travel trunk. This creature is known in the legends as a sun-eater. It is a biological battery that spends the daylight hours motionless, absorbing the intense solar radiation into its heavy semi-precious shell. Now in the cool of the night it slowly releases that warmth, acting as a living hearth that warms the air of the oasis. It watches you with eyes that have seen empires rise and fall. Yet it remains here, moving only inches a day. It is the living embodiment of the Alchemist's philosophy, teaching you that speed is not required for survival, and that true strength is found in absolute patience. Surrounding the water is a grove of tall metallic plants. These are the chime reeds mentioned in the oldest texts. Centuries ago these were organic bamboo stalks. But over millennia the silica dust has petrified them into stone. They have become natural organ pipes tuned to the earth. Even though the wind here is barely a breath, the heavy air of the valley creates a resonance within the hollow tubes. It is a continuous harmonic vibration you feel in your chest. A sound designed by nature to bypass the conscious mind. It signals the parasympathetic nervous system to disengage, telling your body that there is nothing left to defend. You step from the boat onto the soft bank. The ground here is covered in a thick carpet of star moss. This is a bioluminescent lichen used by ancient navigators. It glows with a faint and pulsating cyan light. It does not burn or consume energy like a fire. It produces cold light through a slow chemical reaction. The pulse of the moss matches the rhythm of the tides. Walking upon it feels like walking on a cloud of soft light. You follow the glowing path up a gentle slope, toward the structure that stands beneath the fossilized palm. You are leaving the open air and moving toward shelter. Moving deeper into the safety of the Alchemist domain. You walk up the gentle slope of the mossy bank, approaching the massive structure that stands beneath the fossilized palm. This is the dwelling of the Alchemist. To call it a tent is to underestimate its history and function. It is a nomadic palace built to withstand the winds of eternity. The fabric was woven by the lost guild of the golden thread. It is a thick and heavy wool dyed in deep indigos and blood reds. If you look closely at the weave you can see the glint of metal. Thin filaments of copper wire are threaded through the wool, creating a protective cage that blocks out the static of the world. Inside this structure the chaotic signals of the waking life cannot reach you. It is a void of pure and uninterrupted silence. The tent is anchored to the ground not by wooden stakes, but by heavy weights of raw silver buried deep in the sand. You reach out and push aside the heavy velvet entrance flap. The fabric feels like felted wool under your fingertips. As you step inside, the air changes instantly. The cool and humid air of the oasis is left behind, replaced by a dry and radiant warmth that settles on your skin. The scent inside is a complex perfume of ancient history. The base note is oud from the resin of the agarwood tree. The middle note is frankincense harvested from the southern cliffs. The top note is the clean, dry smell of old parchment and dust. It smells like a library that has been baking in the sun. A place where knowledge has been stored and protected for centuries. Your eyes adjust to the dim and golden light of the interior. In the center of the room is a circular hearth made of iron. A fire is burning there, but it is not a wood fire. It burns blocks of dried peat moss harvested from the Oasis floor. This fuel burns slowly and without any smoke or crackle. It produces a steady amber glow that does not flicker. It possesses the constancy of a dying star, lighting the room in a soft and sleepy chiaroscuro. The floor is layered with dozens of thick Persian rugs. Some are threadbare with age and others are vibrant and new. They overlap to create a patchwork of history on the floor, cushioning your every step and absorbing the sound of your movement. To the left of the hearth stands the Alchemist's workstation. This desk is a relic from a time before the desert existed. It is a massive slab of petrified driftwood, carved from a tree that fell into a prehistoric ocean. The wood has turned to stone over millions of years. It is gray and hard and polished smooth by time. On the surface of the desk lie the tools of the master. There are brass astrolabes designed not to measure the stars, but to track the migration patterns of silence across the dunes. There are rolls of vellum parchment held down by river stones, covered in star charts and complex mathematical equations, describing the chemical formula for turning anxiety into peace. You realize as you look at these tools that he is a scientist. The alchemist is a scholar of the human soul. He understands that the mind is like a turbulent ocean, constantly churned by the winds of responsibility and worry. His entire laboratory is designed for one singular purpose: to create an environment where the wind finally stops blowing, where the water of the mind can finally settle into glass. You are the apprentice invited into this sacred space. You are here to witness the final stage of the great work, the distillation of the day's chaos into the elixir of sleep. You approach the desk and prepare to watch the process begin. I want you to lean in close to the desk now. Bring your attention to the center of the petrified wood. Resting there is the masterpiece of the alchemist, a complex and fragile apparatus known as the copper lotus. It is a machine made of hand-blown glass and beaten metal. It looks like a mechanical flower opening to the sky. You can feel the gentle heat radiating from its core. It warms your face like the breath of a sleeping animal. This is the still of silence, the machine that turns the raw material of time into peace. Inside the central glass chamber, a golden liquid is moving. It is viscous and heavy like warm honey. This is the dissolved essence of the day you just lived. The alchemist has gathered all the noise and the hurry. He has placed it inside this chamber to be purified. Watch closely as the liquid begins to transform. Tiny bubbles are forming at the bottom of the glass. They rise slowly through the golden fluid, carrying the weight of the world upward toward the light. As they reach the surface, they burst without a sound, turning from heavy liquid into a fine and invisible mist. Follow the steam as it travels up the neck of the glass. It moves into the spiral cooling tubes of the condenser. This is the helix of forgetting. A coil of glass that is kept cool by the air of the tent. As the steam touches the cold glass, it begins to change again. It slows down and loses its frantic energy. It remembers that it is water. Your eyes follow the spiral down to the copper spout. Here is where the magic happens. A single drop of glowing moon water begins to gather. It starts as a tiny bead of pure white light. It grows larger with infinite slowness. It becomes heavy and swollen with light. It hangs there at the tip of the metal, clinging to the copper and fighting the pull of the earth. Hold your breath and watch it stretch. It becomes a perfect pearlescent sphere. And then, in a moment of absolute surrender, let's go. It falls through the air like a slow-motion star, landing in the crystal vial waiting below. It does not splash when it hits the surface. It merges with the pool of peace already waiting there. I want you to stay with this rhythm. Do not look away from the copper spout. Watch the next drop begin to form. It is slow and it cannot be rushed. It grows. It hangs. It falls. This rhythm is the heartbeat of the Oasis. It tells you that there is no emergency here. The vial will fill when it fills. You cannot hurry the drop and you cannot hurry sleep. You can only watch and witness. And in the watching, your own racing thoughts begin to slow down. They begin to match the hydraulic rhythm of the machine. One thought, then silence, then another thought, then silence. Your eyes drift from the hypnotic machine to the corner. They're growing out of a pot of silver dust. Is the only living plant inside the tent. The crystal palm is a botanical rarity. Its leaves are not made of green plant matter. They are translucent and frosted like sea glass. Inside each leaf you can see veins of gold pulsing gently. This plant does not need sunlight to survive. It feeds on the quiet of the room. The quieter the tent becomes, the brighter it glows. Right now, as you settle deeper into relaxation, the palm is beginning to shine with a soft white light. It casts long and gentle shadows across the rugs. It is a visual representation of your own peace, blooming quietly in the dark corner of the room. Look down at the floor beneath the desk. A small drift of silver silt has blown in under the door. Under the light of the crystal palm, the grains sparkle. They look like tiny polished gemstones scattered on the rug. Diamonds and nuggets of raw silver. This brings us the lesson of perspective. From the boat, the desert looked like a gray void. But up close, it is a treasure chest. The things you find boring in your life are often filled with diamonds if you look closely enough. You are resting on a bed of jewels, surrounded by wealth that cannot be spent, only enjoyed. The distillation is finally complete. The crystal vial is full of clear light. The alchemist sets down his tools on the petrified desk. The work of the night is finished. It is time to leave the station of the observer and move toward the station of the sleeper. You turn away from the golden light of the desk, moving toward the center of the nomadic palace. Here, sunken into the floor, is the rug pit. It is a circular depression about 3 feet deep, lined with 20 layers of the softest woven wool. This is the nest of return. A sleeping space designed to hold the human form perfectly. You step down into the circle of rugs. The wool yields gently under your weight. Underneath the layers you can feel the contour of the sand. It shifts to accommodate the shape of your hips. It shifts to support the arch of your spine. It is a heated memory foam made of the earth itself. You lie back into the deep indigo cushions. The walls of the pit rise up around you, blocking out the rest of the room. You are held in a warm and dark embrace, like a seed waiting in the soil for spring. You reach for the cover at your feet. This is the legendary weighted quilt of the dunes. It is a heavy blanket sewn with 1,000 small pockets. Each pocket is filled with warm silver silt. You pull the quilt up over your legs, feeling the heavy sand pinning you to the earth. You pull it up over your waist and chest. You pull it up over your tired shoulders. The weight is immense, but it is not crushing. It is a profound signal of grounding. It tells your muscles they are no longer needed. It tells your nervous system that the day is over. Your legs go heavy and still. Your arms sink deeper into the wool. Your head settles back into the velvet pillow. From this deep and protected position, you look up through the open smoke hole in the roof. The fabric frames a perfect circle of the night sky. You can see the stars moving above you, but they are moving with infinite slowness. They are rotating around the fixed point of the North Star, turning the great wheel of the universe. You realize that you are the center of the wheel, the unmoving point around which the world spins. You do not have to move. You only have to witness the turning. The fire in the peat moss hearth dies down, fading to a bed of gently glowing coals. The light in the room shifts from amber to blue. The crystal palm in the corner dims its bioluminescence, sensing that the consciousness in the room is fading. The dripping of the copper lotus slows to a halt. The silence in the tent becomes absolute. There is nothing left to do here. There is nowhere left to go. You are safe in the silver dunes, held by the sand and watched by the stars. You are no longer the alchemist. You are no longer the apprentice or the traveler. You are just a point of awareness drifting in the warmth. The boundaries of your body are dissolving. You are becoming part of the stardust silt. You are swirling into the deep indigo void. No gravity. No weight. No time. You were never the sand. You were always the star. Silver. Silence. Sleep. Silver. Silence. Sleep. 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 Sleep.